Welcome everybody. Hope you're having a great day, and thank you for coming here on board and listening to us touch base on here scanning and how this can help us in the current situation that we're all in. Here's a screen here, quick agenda note. We're going to talk briefly about DJM, what we do, and also our guest Animal Arts, what they do. We'll look at a project we completed with them. Some outcomes and benefits of 3D scanning, what the new normal is and how we adjust to that in this construction environment. And then if we have some time, we'll do a couple other examples and just how scanning's helped out in some projects we've done. Here's our speakers today. Myself, I'm John Brown. I work with DJM. I'm the head of 3D scanning here. We also have Heather Lewis. Heather is a principal with Animal Arts, which is an architecture firm based in Boulder, Colorado, and they specialize in animal care facilities. And then finally, we have Jim Whitmore. He's with FARO Technologies. And a little bit about us. So DJM, we are a BIM coordination and drafting company. We specialize in project management and coordination as well. And of course, 3D laser scanning. So just to touch base briefly on 3D scanning and what it is. See the FARO scanner, we use FARO. So you can see that machine up there. It's going to rotate in a 360-degree circle. It's going to send out a laser, and it's going to catch every surface and object in its path and create a digital file. I'll bring a video in for you. Here's a little visual here just to show you what that looks like. So this is a mechanical room that we scanned. And you can see all the piping. You can see we removed the walls and ceiling just for better visuals. You can see it kind of looks pixelated. That's the actual laser, the dots that hit all the surfaces. And what that does is it brings back an XYZ coordinate, and then it creates this digital file right here, which can then be put right into a CAD program and essentially traced to give you a 3D model. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Heather Lewis so she can introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her company before we get into the case study about the project that we completed together.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me on as a guest today to talk a little bit about 3D scanning and what it's done for us. My name is Heather Lewis, as mentioned by John. I am a principal of Animal Arts, and this is an architecture firm located in Boulder, Colorado, and we work on animal care projects across the nation and also in Canada. We often have projects that are quite remote to where we are in the Boulder area in Colorado, and that makes it a little difficult sometimes for me to, or one of my coworkers, to get to where we need to go. So again, we're a specialist and we work with people all over the country. The particular project we're going to talk about today was quite remote to us. It's all the way in New York. And we are in Colorado, and we're during this global pandemic. So just to give you a little bit of a context, I used to get on an airplane once a week and travel. And getting on an airplane once a week and traveling, I'm sure you can imagine that struggle is real. So this year, we're definitely looking at ways to do things better and smarter. And we really don't always have a choice this year, but we discovered the 3D scanning. And the 3D scanning revolutionized what we could produce for this particular project. So it's really exciting. So I'll just describe the problem that we faced, which was understanding the site when we were remote and also trying to get into a site like this one during this year was difficult. But we were able to get to the site using the 3D scanning technology virtually. We wanted to have good insight into the layout of the building, of course. And one of the problems we always face is being able to get access to additional information like additional measurements. When we get drawings from our clients, they often look like this. And this is the example of the drawing that was given to us for this particular animal shelter. This is probably some rolled up drawing that's in the back of someone's closet, maybe in the shower in the shelter. It's in bad shape. It doesn't have all the information it needs on it. and it's hard to read, and it's probably not accurate. So this old drawing, for example, doesn't even have some of the additions that have been made to the building over the years. So working from a drawing like this and then flying and measuring is not efficient, but we came up with a much more efficient way.
And to speak on that point too, Heather, being the guy that our company go on doing the scans, this is a lot of the drawings that we get up front as well. Documentation that's, who knows, 20 years old, 30 years old. So the current situation, the current as-built condition of an area or a building is not really reflected on something of this nature. So going forward, right, the 3D scanning side, you guys contacted us. We had a couple conversations about what we do and how this could help. And I believe, were we one of the first 3D scanning companies you guys have worked with?
Actually, the very first. And I was so excited about, you know, the fact that you can actually do all of these different things that you're outlining here, including helping us with our Revit modeling, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, and so for this project, we did the scan, and I'll bring up something in a moment just to kind of highlight how this helps at remote capabilities for coordinating this project from far distances apart. But yes, we also do the modeling. So yeah, in your case, you guys had a scan, and then we actually did the model for you guys. Then you guys can use that in your design process. So just to touch base briefly, I'm going to slide this in here. This is FARO's web share scene that you can get. We can put a project up here on the cloud, and you can see there's a layout of the building itself, plan view. So we can pick areas that we've scanned from. So here's a scan location at the front of the building. So this is a link that I can send to any one of our clients, and we can discuss it back and forth. If there's something we need to look at on the front of the building, we can pop right to that scan, we can rotate around, and we can see, hey, are we having a conversation about the treatments on the front door? Are we changing any kind of structure? You can move yourself around the building.
And just kind of, I love this so much, because this really helps us communicate with our clients really well, because we're all doing virtual meetings. So even though our clients may be there on location, we still aren't really talking eye to eye about what we're modifying. So this kind of views allows us to really have a good conversation about what we're updating.
Exactly. And it doesn't take up any, you know, it's a cloud-based cloud-based product here. So we're not tying up anything in the computers. It's just click the link and you're in. If you need to, you can go around and this is just in the scan. This is not, you know, this is not a CAD model. This is just pictures from the scan, but with all the 3D data in the background. So we can actually, you know, pick and choose spots. If we need to, hey, what's the height here? We can just click and we can get, and get a measurement of where we are, what we're looking at, if we have to make any kind of quick decisions on something that's happening on that portion of the building. You can make notes, you know, annotations, you can send screenshots. So I think for this project, again, we've done a few of these now, especially we've done a few of them over the last few months here. And it's been really helpful to kind of bring you on site without actually being on site. Slide that out. So there's a couple renderings of the Revit model that we sent over to Heather and her team. And they know that they're working with an extremely accurate product, because the scan itself is going to pick up down to millimeters. So there's no guesswork in how accurate this is. So if we're adding any kind of structure or moving things around in the interior of the building, that you know that where the wall is in this model, that's actually where the wall is. A lot of times, and I'm sure a few people out there have worked with existing models that aren't correct. And if you take a scan, you can actually overlay a scan into an existing model and check to see, kind of get some verification as to, say, a column line or, you know, structure where things are actually sitting in the building. So 3D scanning on the upfront side, and again, I think Heather could speak to that as well, that having this information on the front end for the design work or to assist in the design work's was a big help.
It's a huge help. So it's going to really help us turn this project around faster, because I remember the previous project we worked on, which was an animal shelter renovation. We actually had to run to the site multiple times to take dimensions because you always find something you miss. So this is really going to help our timeline. Everything's perfectly dimensioned because it's measured perfectly, and then it allows us to keep our model really accurate and up to date, which is going to reduce any problems. I do, though, wish that we had been able to scan the little guinea pigs and dogs and cats, because that would have been pretty funny. But as far as the building itself, it is absolutely perfect.
Good, yeah, and the timelines vary. I guess we have quick turnaround, which it's true. I mean, if you're going to send a crew out to hand measure a site and rely on that documentation, they fly back. And like you said, hopefully things are correct and you don't have to revisit. There's just costs involved with all of that. So again, this is kind of a one-stop fix, if you will, to get the correct as-built of the places that you're working on. And for me to go out as a scan tech, or one of our guys go out and scan the site, moving the scanner around could be, you know, depending on what we set the scanner at, but you're looking anywhere from, you know, 2 minutes up to 7 minutes or longer if you need to. But typically, you know, each scan location is about 5 minutes, let's just say that. And you're moving around and you're capturing, I mean, the scanners are capable of going hundreds of feet to catch surfaces and structure where, you know, if you're in a big warehouse or you're in a smaller building with multiple offices, you kind of move that scanner around. So you're in and out of rooms fairly quickly. I think this particular project took us about a day and a half to get exteriors and all the interiors. A lot of partition walls, which I'll show that here, just to kind of give you a little run through of the model. So this is just in Navisworks that you can kind of see, and this is all just built from the scan. There was no real previous documentation. Hopefully it's moving smooth on your end here while you're watching, but I'm sure a lot of you use these products, Navisworks and CAD and Revit. But a lot of partition walls, so there was a lot of scanning in and out of rooms. But again, having to do this in person by hand would have been a long process. So the 3D scanner can capture a lot of this information quickly. And everything these days moves 100 miles an hour. Go ahead, Heather.
You know what I really appreciated about the speed at which this was done was that we were able to get in and out, you were able to get in and out of the space quickly, which is really helpful for all of the different COVID-19 protocols, and also just keeping the animals calmer. So that was really good, just to be able to have one person and equipment in the room as opposed to running tape measures back and forth. So for any particular project where you might have disruption to operations, this was a really good product to use.
Yeah, it's fairly quick, and depending on the job, like I said, it's all depends on where you're scanning, but it's definitely a time saver. And then mistakes add up, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that you know, you're dealing with inaccurate measurements on prints that it could be jobs that you're currently working on. I've been out to scan jobs that are midway through and they're having issues with structure, and they're trying to run, you know, trades up in a ceiling space, and they have, say, 24 inches of space, which sounds like a lot in some places for sure, but and then you have structure. We had beams that were varying heights, and this wasn't discovered until they're putting walls up. So I've been in places where scan it mid construction. So getting these things done, if possible, up front, getting the scan done up front is definitely a huge help. It can't always be done, but for the most part it can, and I think that's the most beneficial part. A usage of scan is to get it done up front. Inaccurate measurements, work order changes, all these things take time. Project delays, it all adds up to delaying a project, and then you have skilled trade man hours lost. And if you're going to send somebody out on site to measure any inconsistencies or issues you're having, you're going to send one of your top guys out there to do that. Someone who's measured before, who understands exactly what's needed, document it properly, and get it translated back to, you know, to a print eventually. All these things add up. They're costly. So again, even sending me out, our company out, or a scanner out in the middle of a project's a good move as well, I feel, because again, you're getting us scanning, boom, we can incorporate that right into a model and produce prints quickly. So, and you know, you're getting an accurate depiction of what's happening. So it leads into the solution. Again, we're talking about 3D scanning, accurate prints, accurate models, and the ability to collaborate online, which I think, and again, exactly what we're talking about and what the point of this webinar is, sort of bridging that distance gap and being able to, you know, here's the site, you know, I could discuss the animal arts project, or the, sorry, Southampton animal shelter with Heather online, and it's like we're standing in front of the building. No one had to travel anywhere. There's no cost there. We're just going online and we're discussing, you know, what we need to do. We can then review the model on, you know, over a webinar as well, and discuss, and nobody's leaving their office. So I just think the benefits of being able to collaborate over a project and see it in its real setting, and then also have the model at the same time to make decisions upon that, and you're here, you know. Not to say that, again, we'll discuss this quick at the end too, but you know, COVID is relevant. It's happening right now. We're all feeling the effects. But again, what's the travel costs, you know, a year from now, if Heather needs to fly from Colorado to New York to do essentially the exact same thing, measure things out by hand? I think the choice is definitely easier made to go with, you know, scanning and get this information without even having to do that, if possible.
Definitely going to make my life better in the future. And you know, we all had that one boss that said, work smarter, not harder. And I don't know if I, you know, appreciated that advice at the time, but definitely I think this is a great solution for the future as well as for this year.
Yeah, and you being, you know, like you mentioned earlier on, having to travel quite a bit, you know, again, this may solve a lot of that for you. And then touched on this briefly too, reduced travel times, limited on-site exposure. Depending on the job sites you're going to, of course, again, we're talking about this pandemic that we have, but aside from that, you know, if you're going out to a job site and it's in the middle of its construction, or they're erecting the steel, you know, not always the safest place. If you've been around those, you know, construction sites before, you kind of know to keep your head about you. But send out someone who goes to those sites all the time, spend less time on site, get the same information, except you're getting 100% accuracy on what you're bringing back out of the job site, and then being able to put that into CAD format, or just, you know, send the file. In your case, Heather, we did the scan and we created a Revit model, and you got both of those products at the end. And there's various ways that the scan can be used. Some clients just want the scan and they do their own CAD work, you know, using the point cloud themselves. So there's varying uses for it. And I just think, again, it's the online collaboration. To me, that's probably one of the biggest benefits of using this technology. So if you have anything else to add there, Heather?
No, I just really want
to
thank you for the opportunity to learn about this, because it's sort of one of those things that we never expected to be faced with challenges. But when you get faced with challenges, sometimes you find a better way of doing something. And I think it's really going to make a superior product for this particular client and for clients in the future. So yeah, thanks for being part of that. It was great learning experience and a great outcome.
Excellent. And it was great working with your staff as well. So I'm happy that worked out for you, and thanks for coming on and telling us a little bit about how it worked for you. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
I have another example I'd just like to kind of put out there. We did a manufacturing a plant in Georgia. They manufacture wood pellets, and they had a big issue with one of their large exhaust stacks. They're located in Georgia. We're located in Pennsylvania, and the client we actually did the scanning work for is in like Western Pennsylvania side. So they, you know, contacted us to head down to Georgia, get the scan. and then take that, and they needed our help on the design side for fixing this ductwork issue. So again, the problem here, I'll show you an example of this, what the issues were. Misaligned ductwork, and this is items that need to be craned into place, so this wasn't something that a few guys could lift and move around. This is large work. Revisiting the site and then communicating back here in Pennsylvania to fix the problem on the CAD side of things using the scan. So nobody had to go down to the job site to hand measure and figure it out and relay the information back. We got the scan, and we had the scan here. We were able to just work directly on that and fix the problem. So here is the actual duct itself. You can see that there's a major misalignment right here. And this was something that our drafting team had to assist in fixing. The base down at the bottom, if I can go to that real quickly. I know we're using recap, my apologies. I had this project loaded up, but we used the FARO scanner for it though. So you can see there's another misalignment down here as well. So there were some big problems on this site, on this particular job. And pardon me for a second, let me just turn on our CAD model. So you can actually take the scan file, and you can load in your CAD work as well. So that's one part. And here's the fixes we made. So we have the CAD file right inside the scan itself, so we can actually see now that we've fixed up top here. And again, this is more of a communication piece or a tool as well for going over this with the client, so that we can see what the fixes are, how we're going about it, and showing it right on top of the actual stack itself. Sorry, let me just rotate around here. So we actually ended up recreating the entire base, and without the scan, this would have been a lot harder. And for us to travel down, scan it, I was back within 24 hours. So fairly quick turnaround, and we were working on this within the 24-hour time slot. And these factories can't afford to shut down very long. So to be able to get out there, get this information, and get back and work on it quickly was very key. So so it worked out real well. And again, so this scan, in this case, the client really didn't need the scan per se. They're more of the install manufacturer side. Then we take the scan and we design and say, here's your fix. We send them install drawings, create a model for them, but their concern is to get this installed and have it fixed and correct. So the scan helped on that, on that side of it. Minimize out of this. So the fix, again, we were able to take this information and put it right to work and get this problem solved. Minimal shutdown for the plant. I think they had like 4 days to shut down and make this fix, and it worked out, and the timing was great. Now this was a mistake. I'm going to say that was made by others, not us, which is true, but we all make mistakes, and thankfully there's technology like this that's out there to get a quick fix taken care of. So I'm going to pass it over to Jim Whitmore. He discussed a little bit about FARO and some of their products and just what they're all about. Just to say, we're really happy with FARO. We really appreciate the opportunity to kind of do this sort of blended marketing and let them know we're really happy with with what we use. We use both Recap and FARO products. We use Scene probably more than we do Recap, but a lot of our staff is using that currently, so we're making more of a switch over. But between the Scene web share, Scene itself, and the FARO scanner, we're extremely happy with everything.
All right. Well, thank you, John. As John said, my name is Jim Whitmore. I'm one of the account managers with FARO. And you guys, if if you live in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, or West Virginia, you'd be working with me. If you're someplace else, you'd be working with one of my coworkers. So appreciate you all joining here. Just to go over kind of what we're about, we're a 3D measurement and imaging company. So we really like to provide the full workflow solution for this, everything from the data collection all the way through processing and getting it into a usable form, and then helping customers use that data more effectively. And as John said, they work with recap sometimes, they work with scene sometimes. It's a great point because we like to integrate into your workflow. We try to play nicely with all the other stuff that's out there. So whether you need a full solution or whether you need part of a solution, we try and help with that. So as you can see, we kind of start with the on-site capture, and really the base of that is the FARO Focus scanner. Right now, it's our S-Series scanner is the base that you use for a variety of different things. So the scanner can be used by itself. Just take the scanner out to site, take scans. It reaches out all the way out to 350 meters in all directions, fully wireless, and can collect up to 2 million data points every second. So you're really getting a lot of very accurate data. It's millimeter accurate. Just a great tool. You can then take that scanner and mount it onto what's called our Swift Cart system, and that allows you to turn your Focus S series into a mobile scanning system to further help you collect more data. We've also got a partnership with Boston Dynamics that allows for fully autonomous scanning mounted on their Spot robot dog system, where you can program a route in and Spot can walk through a job site and trigger scans and navigate that job site completely autonomously. Scene is our processing and registration program that kind of provides a jumping off point for the rest of the workflow. As-Built sits directly inside AutoCAD, sits directly inside Revit, and provides more tools to view and model from the point cloud. Build It is another fantastic tool that provides some very in-depth analysis tools for quality control and everything there, and works with our Tracer laser projector, which is a projection system that allows you to project a laser diagram on three-dimensional surfaces. So helps with layout, helps with quality control. Hugely powerful tool. And then all of that flows into Scene, where, as you've seen, the fantastic tool, or into Scene Web Share, as you can see, that provides a fantastic collaboration tool. Really opens up data access to anybody with a web browser. So you're no longer constrained to, does this person have an Autodesk, an AutoCAD license or a Revit license or a Scene license? It's, does this person have an internet connection and a web browser? And now you can drop them in and navigate through a job site and take measurements and make notes and make comments. And we've had customers using it to do full punch walks. It's a whole, as John and Heather have said, it's a game changer for them. So with that, I think we can probably move it, pass back to John and move into some questions.
Yep, sure. I see, looks like there's a couple questions up here right now. First one I see is, John, how does your company address BIM modeling for different firms with a diverse range of standards, templates, Revit families, etc.? We work with different firms with different standards, different templates. So that's really, I would get you with one of our drafting leads and one of our project managers, and we would find out exactly what you need, what you're looking for, and what your end product needs to be. And we would just discuss that, and so that everything that we're sending your way is correct for what you need. So we're definitely flexible on what you need or what our clients need, because there is different things that clients, certain clients need. So that's how we would handle that. I see there's one there for you, Heather.
Yeah, I wanted to answer this question live because I thought it would be a good discussion point. The question is, Heather, does your firm usually pass off the cost of scanning modeling to your owner, much like survey fees, or do you absorb them into your architectural fees? The answer is that we passed it off like a survey fee, and I would continue to do that in the future. The reason is that we all know, if we're in the design and construction industry, that sometimes transparency helps with passing across fees to a client, i.e. they want to know what they're actually buying. And the scanning is a package. So they know that they're buying that and that's value, versus me hiding, not hiding, but some, including as-built documentation and my own fee. It makes it less transparent. So we passed it through, which was really good because it just kept our fees clean and to the point for schematic design and the rest of the process.
I'm just looking at some of the questions, pardon me here. I think there's another one there if you see that, Heather, unless you want to answer that one off. I see, John, what other apps do you use to create 3D models? Only Revit? Mostly Revit. AutoCAD, I don't work with Revit and AutoCAD very, very minimally. I'm not too versed in them. I know basics, but our drafting team and modeling team, they work with Revit, AutoCAD, and that we don't use any other software besides those two. Navisworks for coordination purposes, but mostly for us, it's Revit and AutoCAD.
Oh, there's another question for me about ROM costs.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Do you want to share that, John, based on what our rough order magnitude was for the scanning on that particular project?
I'm sorry, where's that question? Oh, that's right there.
Question. I think the person is asking what did it cost for us to scan the animal shelter?
Oh, there. Okay, from Tim. Yeah. The cost for the animal shelter is I think we did it was a day and a half scan there, which I mentioned earlier, and I want to say it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000. I'll have to look that up, and we can discuss projects off to the side, new stuff, but typically projects are all different. So to throw a random number at a scan is tough, because it depends, again, like the going in and out of rooms, it's just time and the amount of the time on site and the amount of time it takes to actually process the scan on the back end. If it's a wide open space, the scan can intuitively stitch itself together in scene, FARO scene, to process the point cloud. But again, if you have to go in and out of rooms, you typically have to do a lot of manual piecing together of the scan on the back end. So each scan itself, or each project, is unique in its own way. So so it's best to look at plan drawings, anything you have up front, to kind of see and map out what the scan's going to look like and get a better number for it there. So so I guess that would be my answer. Each case is individual, but this one was somewhere in that neighborhood, if I remember correctly.
Right. It was darn near free, actually, compared to me jumping on a plane. And
well, yeah, I mean, if you want to compare what it costs to fly out, get there, spend the time, get the hotel, yep, meals, rental car, fly back. Hopefully it's all good. You don't have to make a second visit. Easily savings. What else do we have here? That's a good question from Justin. Are there customers who have used the technology to monitor weekly construction progress and measure earned value? Yes, there's definitely a market for that. I personally have not done, we personally have not done any job weekly, like the weekly scan or progress monitoring with scans. I do know that there is companies that definitely do it, and projects that require that. I know a lot of government projects. I know I spoke with the gentleman who was doing an airport, and they needed, it was a terminal in an airport that was getting upgraded, and they wanted weekly updates, and they wanted it via scans. So definitely there's job site monitoring and progress reports. Post-construction as-builts are as well another one that's just more documentation. We've done that as well as produce prints for the as-builts, but again, it's more they wanted the scan file, like a digital file of what was built and what's in place.
And we've definitely seen customers using it for repetitive, scanning to document progress. And one of the cool things I've seen in WebShare is you can have, for example, take scans while the walls are still open. And so you can see wiring and piping and everything that's behind the walls, and then add that as a different layer once you've completed everything and scan the finished product and go in WebShare and basically get X-ray vision. So you can see exactly where everything is, and not only see it, but it's measurable. So you can tell, I know there's an electrical wire that was actually run right here, and you can get that measurement and locate things very exactly. And that's a huge advantage for making modifications later on. So,
and I think just to be clear on what scanning, I do get asked this question a lot on site, is what the scanner can see. Can it see through the wall or through the ceiling? It cannot. It can see what you see. Again, to your point, Jim, is if you want to get a really solid as-built, and it's possible to get in and scan prior to walls being covered up and ceiling being put in place, you can create those multi-layer as-builts, and which is great. So that's another great way to do an as-built, is to be able to scan it multi times and have all that information compiled into one.
There's another question for me, which is what file type do you need from FARO to insert in your Revit model? So I will I'll brush on that, John, if you want to add.
I think we sent you guys, so FARO, well, we use RCP files, and within Scene, you can turn your scan in from FARO into an RCP file and send it right into Revit. You can send it right into AutoCAD. So again, like I think Jim mentioned it, FARO's plays nice with others. So it's you're able to import that information right from Scene. You just turn it into an RCP and send it in. And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, and I want to investigate this a little more too. I know on WebShare, you can take part of a CPE file and send it into CAD as well, right?
Correct. So we recently have added the capability for 3D data download with the pro level of WebShare, and that lets anybody that you give permission to basically can pull all of your project or part of your project and download that in a number of different formats. And one of those is a recap file. And with that conversion's all done in the cloud. So you're not tying up your processing resources, and you're not tying up your resources with somebody reaching out to you and having to transfer large files and all of that.
That's massive. That is a big
self-serve. So
that's big, because that's a huge challenge. And again, just to reiterate the importance of the Scene WebShare, but the scan itself they're large files. There's not any super fix for that at this point. Now, again, FARO's made a good adjustment to do that, being able to download point cloud data from WebShare itself. But if I was to send Heather directly in her scan from the scan for the Southampton Animal Shelter as a file, it's probably 80 gigabytes. It's a big file. So being able to share the same information online without any of that massive data transferring is fantastic. So so that's a big help as well. Heather, John, what is your best suggestion to capture rooftops, multi-platform spaces like oil rigs? That's probably going to be best done with a drone, and you can compile that data as well, like LiDAR data. If you can get up on top, that's great. You can climb up and do it with the regular scanner, but something to that height, you probably want to get into a drone for that. I think there is a drone that FARO attaches right to the bottom, right, Jim?
Yeah, we've got a partnership with a company called Stormbee, and they have actually mounted our drones on, or our scanners onto a fairly sizable drone. So that's one option. But Scene does, you can take that drone data, and if you could, convert it to like an LAS file, you can align that all in Scene and integrate drone data with the rest of the scan data. So that's probably rooftops, especially if you can't get up there and see it with a scanner. It kind of also goes to a question that I typed an answer to. You can mount the scanner to really anything that's a stable base. So we've seen guys mount them to big booms, to a variety of different things. As long as it's a stable fixed base, you should be fine. We've even had people turn off the inclinometer and hang them upside down through holes in the floor. You can do all sorts of cool stuff with the scanner. So it's a matter of getting that into a place where it can see what you need.
Yep. Looks like there's one. Does FARO have an add-in for recognition of beams, columns, and walls? It's a plugin, isn't it, or an as-built?
Correct. So that's as-built. So as-built will work in either AutoCAD or Revit, and it does pick up beams, structural steel, piping. We have some pretty cool ties where you can use Scene for visualization, and pick walls and windows and dimensions, and they model in real time directly into AutoCAD and Revit. So we haven't, the software isn't quite smart enough at this point to go fully click a button and it models everything, because then you'd have to go back through and pick out all the errors at this point. So we try and make it as automated as possible, but still have you step through and guide you through it as quickly as possible to get it right the first time. So
looks like there's a couple that kind of for Agnes. Download scan from where to go. I don't think so, right?
We still have so Scene to Go still there, but that's kind of a more static without the internet access. So web share, you would be able to, with the pro level subscription, you would be able to download 3D data from web share. But I'm not sure I'm necessarily understanding the question. So
I think she's asking if you can download scan data from web share to go, and I think that you can't. You need the pro web share.
So you need in order to download 3D data, you need the pro level of web share. Scene to Go is a separate thing that if you don't have internet access, it can give you like you could put it on a thumb drive and view the project, but there's not much more there's more you can do, but you lose some of the collaboration.
Is there a web share to go or not?
There's a Scene to Go.
Scene to Go. Okay. I just want to clarify because for that question. Okay. So there's not it's a Scene to Go.
Yeah. There's web share and there's Scene to Go.
And then it looks like there's one from Anonymous about the push cart.
So we are still in the process of rolling out that Swift, which is the push cart. As I understand it, the ramps, you can do a slight bit of ramp, but not huge height changes. You would want to, if you're going between multiple levels, you would want all your scans on the same level, the mobile scans, and then it would stitch it all together. At least right now.
Yeah.
So.
John or Jim, does the FARO, what's the turnover time from point cloud to Revit model for a building like the animal shelter? When I finished scanning, I believe it was about 10 days that we had it modeled, 10 or 12 days, just shy of a 2-week time frame to model the complete building inside and out. As far as
turnover time, especially considering the market we're currently in, like when John went to go scan, he was checking on, the current status of lockdown. That's where we were in this timeline, and we still got it done pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, we turned it over quickly, and that's kind of what we're about, is trying to make it as quick as possible, but have it be done right. And you can surely rush through through a scan and model something, but you want to also make sure you get every piece the client's looking for as well, and make sure it's done correctly. So, but yeah, each project's different, and I think before we got you guys the full Revit model was right around that timeline, 10 days or something like that. So it was a pretty quick turnaround, and that's a fairly large scan. Like there's a lot. I mean, there's massive scans. Don't get me wrong. There's multi-floor buildings, and could be 20 floors, but that's just a lot of in and out of rooms and stuff like that. So it was a dense point cloud, I guess. A lot of information. There's one more.
I got two.
Has the platform been used for virtual building code inspections? I'm sure it has. I haven't done that, but you absolutely could. I mean, you can see super clear, as you saw in the example I showed with the like even this, if I drag this over, I mean, you have some very good clarity. I mean, you can move right in and see the door handle. So, I mean, you could see outlets and measure heights of the outlets off the ground if you needed to. So, I don't see why you couldn't use it for that. That would be a good usage.
I have heard of it. I haven't personally dealt with a customer that's done it, but I've heard of it. I think we had another web share with a customer out west that did their full punch walk and walked through, and everybody could make annotations, and with the tags and the categories, they could sort very easily and see, where things were, who was asking the question, had it been addressed, all of that, and found that it was actually a lot easier to control all of that and see everything than doing it in person. And they said they plan on continuing to use WebShare after COVID, even when they can get back on site. So there's definitely a lot of benefit. And let's see, do FARO scanners give infrared scan data? So it is an infrared laser. So you can use the laser itself, just without the color pictures. You'll get a black and white, basically intensity image. You can use that. It's in pitch dark, works in pitch darkness, all of that. If by infrared scan data you mean temperature data, no. Our scanners currently do not do that. So it is just the intensity return on that. I think the next one's
okay. The point cloud of the first mechanical project shown looks very good. Did it have processing to get that quality? It's an MP4 file, so there's a little bit there, but for the most part, it's that clear. I mean, if I pull in, let me see, I am just going to pull over that's the Animal Arts building there from a distance, just the exterior of it. So, I mean, that's the point cloud itself. That's not pictures. That's the point cloud. So that's the actual point data there. So that, I mean, it's pretty darn close to a photograph. So when you do these fly-through videos, there is slight video manipulation just to kind of crisp it up and clean it up. But if you look at the clarity here, it's pretty good. It's pretty crisp, and we're really happy with the way things look. Using the scanner and then just the data as well. I mean, that looks like a photograph, and that is, if I zoom in on that, that's the points. So you're getting some pretty good resolution there for sure.
Is that a project point cloud, John? And did you do? I know the scene has a variety of different processing tools to help you kind of clean up that data. So it looks like you did have that project point cloud created there.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, even when I just pull in the data to begin with, and I register and get it to its basic form before I do anything else. It's very clear. Like I'm happy with, we're really happy with how everything.
You know what settings you used for those scans? You know what your resolution and everything was?
I believe I was, a lot of times I go on, depending on what I'm doing, how much the density of how many points I'm taking in. So if it's 23 million per scan or 40 million points. So I don't know if you're talking like 1.5 and one, I can't remember exactly what I did here, but like, I mean, regardless of the setting I use, it's still things look very good. Like you can, there's very few times where I've imported a scan and been struggling to figure out what's there or have any issues.
Okay. So it looks like Pascal had a question. I've been using Scene2Go for a couple projects. Can dimensions and annotations stay? So yes, if you create them in Scene before you create the Scene2Go project. Scene2Go is kind of limited in its collaboration in the dimensions and annotations and all of that you can use after the file's already been created. That's where WebShare comes in. So because WebShare is online in the cloud, then yes, all your dimensions, your annotations would stay. Unfortunately, with Scene2Go, no, there's not a way to make it do that. At least after that file's been created. So.
Trying to think what I used on that scan.
You could probably look it up in there if you wanted to.
I typically go with, I'm pretty happy with the settings that are the preset settings on there. So, you know, if it's an outside exterior scan, an outside scan, 10 meters plus, or it seems that those work pretty good. Depending on what I do, a lot of scans I do black and white, to be honest with you, especially if I'm inside in a warehouse. It's quicker. I can have density in the point cloud if I want to. But you get such varied lighting in certain scenarios where, you know, you have bright overhead light, then you have like some racking or something in there, and it, you know, takes away, it changes the light. You get a heavy shading, and so I feel like inside, even sometimes outside, depending on where I'm at. But one of the plants I just did, I did a black and white scan, and it's much easier to differentiate what you're looking at. You know, if you don't have super bright light, then you have something in the way causing a big shadow. Unless someone needs to see like a nicer looking scan and they want it for the purposes to show it, or maybe do a little video, something like that. And yeah, but if we're looking for speed and efficiency, I typically go black and white.
Yep, and it depends on the usage. If you
Yeah,
need it to model, the black and white may be quick and easy and get you the data points that you need. But if you were looking to do a full presentation, or, you know, for example, both Scene and WebShare are fully VR enabled. So if you were looking to have somebody walk through it in virtual reality, then yeah, you'd want them, all the pictures.
Yeah.
The scanners are HDR capable, so you can get some very high quality images if that's what you're looking for. But you don't have to if you don't have the time to do that.
Right. What should the minimum linear distance between scans be? Really just depends on what you are scanning. I find if I'm in an open space, I'm typically, I move the scanner upwards of 40, 50 feet apart. If it's a warehouse space that's open, that's going to be converted into something else. I mean, there's no problem with that. I mean, you can move further away as long as you have planes that you need some planes around you to not flying planes, like walls and floors and ceiling structure and things that it's going to recognize are similar to stitch the scans together. But I feel like if you're in an office setting, you know, you want to scan at the door, move into the office. Now I don't know if I don't scan my way back out because that would take me forever to get through a space. I just, you know, create, I'm blanking, not the project, the clusters, create clusters, and then it's easy to stitch them together in the background. So minimum could be, yeah, I mean, if it's an open space, you can stretch them out quite a bit. And if it's in an office space, then you want to kind of be a little tighter. Hallways are tricky. You want to be, you know, you want to be not too far away, and hopefully that's where you may want to use targets. I typically do a lot of my scanning just without targets. I don't use a lot of targets, but if you're in hallways, certainly that's helpful. And if you're in big open spaces without many planes to touch on, you want to set up some targets to use. So hopefully that answers that question for you, Julius or Silas.
Well, thank you, John. We appreciate the time today, John, Heather, and Jim, for all the information shared